you with a little tutorial video, if we could call it that. It's more like tips and common sense really for me, but other people don't seem to always get it when I'm trying to train them how to be a gunner. So I'm going to go over just a few things that might make you and your gunner combo just a little bit better. I don't have my gunner with me right now to help make this video because he's working. What it would be like to have a real life, huh? But we're going to load up into the test range, and I'm going to take you through a few things. If you haven't done it yet, you need to like and follow us on our Facebook page. It is official. We're on Facebook. We're getting thousands of views now, so definitely check it out. Drop a like and follow, because we'll be adding a lot of new content to it constantly. And before it goes on Facebook, it always goes on our YouTube. So make sure if you haven't subscribed to this page, you do that. First thing, before we even hop into Chopper, I'm going to go over here to our options menu. My vehicle sensitivity, I've got cranked out at 100%, but not everyone's like me. You might want to start with a little bit lower, especially if you're in the gunner seat. I like mine around 75% when I'm in the gunner seat. It slows it down a little bit. On my soldier buttons, I play with my crouch button as my R3 and my melee, but that's just personal preference. That doesn't have anything to do with it. With this, though, L1 and R1, I do play with that on, so my L1 and R1 are my triggers, so remember that if you play with the other ones, that it's going to be flipped exactly, just flipped. And let's go into the advanced options. You want to decouple this aiming from turning, especially when you're in that chopper seat. It helps you stay on target instead of moving so much when there's chopper sway. We're going to go down to the gameplay options here. We want controls. And back to base options. I play with my heli sticks as veteran. I think if you want to be a choppy pilot, that this is the first thing you need to do. You can't have your cyclic on your freaking your yoke. It just doesn't work. You need to put that cyclic with your fingers there. So I play with it as my triggers, and then my fire button is my L2. But if you're playing with it flipped, your L2 and R2 would be throttle up and down, and your L1 would be fire. But either way, you're playing with those fingers as your throttle instead of with it on your yoke. I can't stand that. You want to kind of stay away from that if you can help it. And my vertical flight, I always fly inverted because that's how it is in real life. You pull back, you pull back, your nose comes up. You push forward, your nose goes down. That's just how it is. So you need to play with it like that if you ever want to be successful, I believe. I do play with a little bit different gameplay options here normally, and it's kind of cool to have when you don't see yellow too good on the screen, because it kind of just sticks out to me. Go up to your what is it called? Not specialized, helicopter and jet pilot HUD. You can change the colors of it to where, like right now, a little red, a little green. It's gonna come out like an orangey color. I want it orange. I want it to stick out a little bit. Actually, let's bump this green up a little. Alright, save those settings, and let's get into a choppy finally. A lot of people try to experiment with the transport choppy when they're first doing it, but really, if you want to be a little bird pilot, start with it. If you want to be a freaking gunner and pilot combo, go with this. And in that decision, like I said, if someone you want to play with constantly, you want to be in the Viper here, or if you're a lone wolf kinda, you want to be in the little bird. I can play on both, but that's just because I've done it so long. Hop into my favorite here, the attack choppy. Obviously, that's what me and Gunner Tickle do. And when you're first starting out flying, don't just take off and try to learn, get way high and try to figure it out. What you want to learn is how to do little movements. Start off with a hover. So I'm going to barely tap my R1, because remember, my throttle's my R1. So I barely tap it, it gets me into a hover. Okay, from there you want to experiment. Right here is going to be my pedals. On my left stick, left to right, is my pedals. So that will turn my nose, and it'll keep me on a flat plane. On the right side is going to be your yoke. It's going to go forward and back, and it's also going to be your roll left and right. It's going to be your pitch there. you start to learn how to fly the choppy. What I like to do when I first started out was get on this test range in this road. I would just fly down the road until I could do it in a good little hover, you know, and then build my speed up until I'm fast enough to where I can fly. When you're turning, you want to turn just like in a motorcycle or a bike. You want to turn into your turn and then pull back on it so that you can make tight turns without just sitting there hovering for RPG to come in and get you. Once you learn how to get this hover down, though, everything about flying will come easier. Now, once you get a gunner in here, we don't have one, but if you tell at the top of the screen, we're looking at a compass. It's a 360-degree compass. It starts at 0 being north, and of course, 180 is going to be south, and then your 90 and 270 relative there for your west and east. 270s west, 90s east. That is going to be the best way to call out for your gunner there. And likewise, if you hop into this seat, it has the same shit. That's going to be the best way to call out, especially in hardcore when you don't get that fancy ass spot button. So when you're looking at two different things, that gunner could be looking way over here at 180 and you're pointed at 4 or 5. That's how big of a difference it is. So, like, you can't just say right there, because then your pilot's up here like, where the fuck's right there at? Of course, you could say, well, you can look at that little screen, but when you're down in that little screen, you don't want to look at that little screen. It's just easier to know your compass and get that down to where you can spot, like, there is a small arms vehicle 315 plus 3 ticks right here. And when you're looking at the compass at 180, you never say like 80. No, you always say each individual number. 180-225, not 225, 225. Okay, we're Marines here. We don't mess around with those Big 10 numbers. And then to the right of it will be plus, and to the minus, or to the left is minus, obviously, you know, down in numbers, up in numbers. And each one of these represents a couple degrees, 20 degrees, I believe, but, or not even 20 degrees. I don't know, but we call them ticks. That's how, you know, so you could just say 315 plus 2 ticks, or 315 split 0 degrees, because it's in the middle. Learn how to call out with that compass. I promise you, you and your gunner will just do 100 times better. Now, playing with cover of the map, that's another key element. A lot of times I'll waste my ECMs on someone shooting at me with like a stinger, and then chopper will come up on my ass. The best way to break a lock when you don't have an ECM is get low, obviously, and then find something to just swoop behind. You get better once you get to flying more, but you really want to learn how to use that cover. Even something as small as these little towers here could keep someone from hitting you. It could hit that tower and blow up before it ever hits you. Break a lock, give you a chance to get that extra 3 seconds for ECM regen, and you're good to go. That is very important to play with cover and know your maps. You really got to know what you can do on the map and what you can't, what you can fit under, what you can fit behind. You know, you don't want to be the guy that tries to go under a bridge and fucking hits the water. You know, everyone's pissed off at you. Don't try to be a showboat, but at the same time, try to know your map well enough to where you can break locks efficiently. And by the way, I can go under that. I just was trying to make a point here. Okay, and another thing, when you're playing as a pilot and gunner, one of the most important things you can do before you set into the choppy is to set up. And you're going to want to go over here to your attack choppy. I play with Hydras, which they shoot faster than the Zunis, have a little less damage, but they're better for the ground targets, I find. And I can still kill choppies and tanks and all that pretty efficiently with a tow missile and a gunner that has a TV. Now, my tow missile, everyone knows that's the only shit I play with unless I'm really getting torn up by the air. Some guy with a whole bunch of friends with stingers or something's whooping my ass. ECMs are the way to go, because with a IR flare, you can flare and things will still hit you because you have to flare and then break because it's going to go where you flared at. So if you flare and then stay in a straight line, it's still going to hit you because it's hitting those flares that are right behind you. With the ECM up to I think it is 5 meters, it won't blow up on you. It'll break the lock. It'll put them into a holding pattern around your chopper. It'll just keep trying to find the lock back, and normally, unless it's a HVM, they're not going to have a chance. HVM 3 launcher, if you know what you're doing, you can shoot choppies even if they flare because it has the 3 rockets and it's the kind of weird lock on where you can keep turning it afterwards. I don't know how to explain it. Now, as a gunner, if your primary seat is that gunner seat, right here on your pilot countermeasure, you're going to want to switch to fire extinguisher. This, a lot of people don't grasp at first, but you're running as a gunner and your pilot becomes on fire. He has flares. He can't fire extinguish, but if you have it, he can jump out real quick, extinguish the fire. You guys have 35% on your chopper. That'll give you enough time for either him to jump back in like we do. You know, we just jump out real quick, jump back in right there in the same motion. Or you can even kill yourself and have them respawn. But either way, it gives you that little extra time to get it down, get it for some repairs, and hopefully save the chopper and save your team some tickets, and just keep pounding the fucking ground. No 80 seconds to respawn that chopper. So that's always a good thing. Now, it's not a huge deal, but with the paint, you know, kind of, if you're in a foresty map, play some forest shit. It makes it a little harder for them to spot you, especially if you got that stealth coating on. They can't just look around with their heat seekers and try to find you. So put on that paint that looks like it. I play Shanghai a lot, so I keep something blue to keep me, you know, if I'm above the water, they can't hardly see me, and if I'm in the sky, it's kind of hard to see me. Keep it blue, keeps it good, but like if I were to play, say, on like Omen, I would want something deserty so that when that sand hits, they don't see me as well. A lot of people say it don't make a lot of difference, but I think it does. We used to play a lot of hardcore, but we don't use proximity scan because we set up with I am anyway, with my mini-map on my tablet. So I don't even hardly look at the mini-map on my screen. So we just use the belt feeder, get you those rounds back faster, and you're going to get more kills, more tickets, and help your team more. All right, well, that's a little bit of my knowledge. Let's switch over to just real quick the Little Bird. I don't play in it so much because I got a gunner, but there's 2 real setups that a lot of people will use. It's the miniguns with the laser guided, or you want the cannons with the heat seekers. That way you have something that's going to tear up a chopper and something that's going to hit the ground. You know, it's going to hit those ground targets. Sometimes, since I'm pretty damn decent, I will actually play with my 25s and laser guided, which a lot of people say is a no. I don't give a shit. I'm better than you. So, yeah. ECM jammers, same reason as before, so that you don't have to break after flaring, but I do think it takes a little longer for regens, especially if you keep popping them. Belt feeder is the way to go. I don't use my air radar. I like that belt feeder, but the stealth coating's also a great way to go on that, just like in the attack choppy. But between the 2, I stick to the belt feeder. I want the rounds because that's going to get me, you know, safer. And I was playing on some Zvad last time I played in this, so notice the paint looks kind of wood-like, you know, running up in those trees, pine trees, and up against that green ground. They're not seeing me as well as if I would be, you know, tiger fucking yellow, or, well, actually, that's kind of a good one for that map, too. Looking at it, if I was like fucking red or something. You know, I don't know why anyone would use the red one. That just makes you stick out like a sore fucking thumb. But anyway, I'll leave it on. Little Bird, I like the Little Bird because it's a little bit more maneuverable, but and you can fit 4 guys in it, but you really got to play a different kind of play style. With the Little Bird, it's acceptable to drop people on flags and pick them back up and kind of stay a little lower to the ground, you know, and just be a little more aggressive. With that attack choppy, you have to have a plan going in. You have to know what route you're going across the map beforehand, and you got to know, you know how to communicate with your gunner, and that's really the most important thing. I've got some 25 mils here, so I'm going to blast out some of these decoys. Remember to like, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube. It's all the same name, Tickle and Pickles Gaming. So, yeah, that is my tutorial. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out. This was Pickles.